Hi there, Leo. Thank you for joining me for your year 2016 forecast. And this year begins with Venus, the planet of love and affection, in the most glorious part of your horoscope. This can see you wanting to be creative and affectionate as you make your way into this new year. Now, Mercury, the planet of communication, is also going to move out of a brittle location pretty early in the year. It does go into a retrograde, it's true. But I think generally this makes you a little bit more attuned to looking outwards. Very often at the turn of the year, we're all making New Year's resolutions. But in recent times, the challenge for you has been juggling the more virtuous ones that you've been wanting to achieve with another part of your nature that's inherently rebellious or wanting to create free time for yourself. So doing the right thing hasn't necessarily been the easy and most obvious route to take. But as you start this new year, there's much less tension. The tension that is going to be there is going to come to a close pretty well at the start of April, and that's the square between Uranus and Pluto, which has been dominating the heavens for us all over the last 4 or 5 years. For you, this can be quite liberating. Uranus is going to continue to spark his magic in the sign of Aries, your sister fire sign, so you're still going to find there may be things you want to get away from that aren't necessarily giving you much satisfaction, but I don't think the internal pressures are going to be quite so obvious. In fact, as this year begins, Saturn, the planet of structure, which is in your other sister fire sign as Sagittarius, is forging a great link with the Sun. So I think 2016, if you can really focus your energies and work hard on your creative talents, could be a year when you make significant progress. That's really the marker that's being laid down for you. However, as we go into the new year, Jupiter, the planet of fortune, is going to go into a retrograde on the 8th of January, one which is going to go on until the 8th of May. Now, for you, it is in your sector of money. This doesn't mean to say that you're going to be unlucky with finance, but it does mean you can't take things for granted. And particularly around what you eat and drink, there can still be a tendency to gain weight right through to September, so do work at staying as active as possible. And when it comes to the things you spend money on, as much as you may be tempted towards things that provide comfort and treats, if they're sugary and calorific ones, that's when the issue is still going to be there around weight management. However, the practicality of the solar return is certainly there. And with Venus also supporting Saturn, the austerity and restrictiveness of Saturn is not going to be quite so obviously there as perhaps was at this time last year. Now, by March, we do see significant changes because Mars is going to hustle and bustle his way in on the 6th into the sign of Sagittarius. So this is particularly important this year because Mars is going to be spending 5 months in this part of your scope. Now, Mars in the 5th solar house is brilliant because it's about being much more self-confident, self-assured. It can give us an extra sex appeal. It's sociable. It could be really significant for your love life if you're single. But of course you also have Saturn here as well. And Saturn is going to go through a retrograde as it does each year, lasting 5.5 months. So not everything when it comes to demonstrating your flair and creativity is necessarily going to be handed to you on a plate. So Mars arriving in this sector is going to be significant. It's going to help you to keep your energy up and your self-belief, both which Saturn can stimulate. But also in March there is 2 eclipses. And the first, on the 9th, occurs for you in your sector of resources. And anything to do with business and shared assets and property, investments, is really going to be a factor in the following 6 months. But you need to choose your words really carefully because the lunar eclipse, which occurs later that month on the 23rd, is in the sector of relating. But for you, in the part of your horoscope to do with everyday communication. And you need to choose your words very carefully around business situations, financial matters in general. Don't be too careless, and certainly don't be too trusting. Remember, Jupiter is tracking backwards in your sector of resources. So you do need to keep your wits very much about you. But then we have a big change which occurs in May, and we see a repetition of a really difficult aspect which really occupied the last 2 months of last year, and that's a square between Neptune and Saturn. And this is really, really crucial for you to understand what this means. Neptune can be a brilliant planet if we're wanting to listen to music, watch a movie, paint, be creative in any way at all, especially if we can escape into our imagination. It's much more difficult when we need to deal with realities. So you could find yourself in this square investing a lot of energy and talent in the things that are important to you, but if you haven't got all the basic calibration around how you're going to pay for it, fund it, or earn money from it, you may find it's a lot of effort with not a lot of reward. Now, this can also be true of love relationships. So just be aware that if you're involved with the wrong person, however glamorous or however much you fancy them, if they're not feeding and nurturing you in other ways, this can become much more obvious from the end of May through to October of this year. Also, Mars is going to go into a retrograde halfway through April, which could create frustration if things aren't going quite as quickly and as well as you'd like. By the end of May, well, Mars has switched back into the sign of Scorpio, which for you is your home zone. This could be a little bit of a querulous time, especially June and July, and you may find that you're at odds with someone that you're close to, live with, or perhaps within the family. It may not be such a settled period. However, we do have September to look forward to, and in August, well, Mars does make its return. It's going forwards and it makes its return to Sagittarius, where it's there through to September. But September is a particularly key month, because on the very first day, the solar eclipse is going to give your financial situation a real lift. Jupiter also moves, and on the 9th, and it moves into your sector of communication, so that's going to support you in this regard. But then there is, on the 16th, another lunar eclipse in the sign of Pisces. Again, you're back into making sure that you're joined together with the right people. If you're not, I think October can be a significant month as Mars makes its way through Capricorn. Very businesslike for you, very practical, but does clash with Pluto. A little detail is going to be really, really key at the heart and middle of October for you. But then at the end of November and the start of December, Mars is tracking its way through your sector of relationships. It can make you a bit more combative, it can make you more competitive, or if you're single, very determined to change your status. But as the year comes to a close, anything around business affairs can be particularly murky. So go careful, especially if you are discussing an investment that concerns someone else and you don't have total control over the issue. So really the story of this year is a lot about your opportunity to express your individuality, your talents, your creativity. And you're given a big boost with Mars's presence in your 5th solar house and Venus being there at the start of the year. All good portents. Mercury's also pretty well in your sector of relating as 2016 begins. But some of the information you received this year is going to be distorted by the energies of Neptune and these eclipses in Pisces. So you really need to get your facts right around finances, business, property and investments. It's been a real pleasure being with you. Thank you for joining me. Good luck and goodbye for now.